Hello everybody, I'm DelusionDispeller. For those of you that don't know me, I have been a life coach since about 2009. Kind of started before that a little bit on my own. I'm the type of person, I guess, that people like to open up and tell their life story to anyways. And somebody told me, why don't you just do it professionally? So I decided to go to college. I got a bachelor degree and a master's degree in psychology, and I decided to be a life coach. So, welcome to Shawnee. I see you there. Thanks for coming along. Now, as the billboard says, as you enter the room, I would love to know who you are and where you're from. So say your name and let me know where you're coming from tonight. I'm really excited about this live show. We're going to be learning a lot about this particular topic of borderline personality disorder. I'm a lot more confident this week than I was the last couple weeks. I'm getting more used to this format. As you know, I have a lot of videos on YouTube, but I am not used to the live format. But a lot of people have been asking for it, so here you go, live for you. All right, so as you see, there are different ways of letting me know that you are present. Send me a little heart or a thumbs up or a like, whatever they call that, a like, a love, a thumbs up, something like that. Click on those and I'll see that you're paying attention and that you're here. And afterwards, when we're done actually talking about this topic, you can ask some questions, give some comments, and just join in. And I welcome that, definitely. So, without further ado, I am going to start talking about our topic today, borderline personality disorder. First of all, over 6 million people at least have this disorder in the United States alone. Borderline personality disorder, where does it begin? Usually in childhood, pretty young childhood. And it begins from a person being put through extreme abuse or trauma, which creates the fear of abandonment and rejection. And it also creates an effort called a defense mechanism, which causes the person with the disorder to try to avoid being rejected or abandoned. And their way of avoiding this happens in different ways. First of all, unfortunately, at the time that the person is in a relationship with you, they will show like this extreme terror that you're going to leave them or reject them, which means they're going to create kind of this clingy, leechy type of atmosphere around your relationship. And the sad thing is, the very thing they're afraid of happening is the very thing that they create. So it's kind of like they create their own reality based on their fears, and their fears become realized, and that's really sad when that happens, but that is indeed what happens. There's many different ways that borderline personality disorder is seen. One of them is through self-harm. Very often cutting, burning, so-called accidents, which really aren't accidents. Anything that is a punishing type of thing, the borderline is known to partake in. The reason for the cutting and some of these other self-harm things with a borderline, or really anybody that does this, is that when you cut yourself, it produces a chemical known as an endorphin. They call that the feel-good chemical. And what that does is produce a high, kind of like almost like morphine would, or any type of drug that would produce a high. Same thing with cutting. It releases those same exact chemicals, which is why people that cut will tell you that they feel better afterwards, because they've created that scenario. It's also a way of escape. Self-harm helps them escape their present reality. Many times this cutting begins with the abuse, where the borderline person will go off in a corner where nobody's watching and just start slicing their arms or beat themselves or whatever type of self-harm they engage in, basically telling themselves, you're no good. You heard what mommy said, you're no good. You're a bad boy. You're a bad girl. And they'll say it over and over and over again. The one thing about words is that the loudest voice you will ever hear is your own voice. And if you don't believe me, plug your ears and just start talking and listen to how loud you sound to yourself. Well, inside of yourself, it's just as loud, if not louder. And if you say things enough times, you begin to believe them. And if somebody else is saying things, the external sensory input goes into you, into your spirit, into your soul, whatever you want to call it, into your brain, and you internalize that, and pretty soon you're feeling about yourself the way you were told that the other person felt about you. So you begin to punish yourself. And borderlines are known for doing a lot of that self-punishment. They feel that they're bad people. If something happens that you have an argument in your relationship, very often you'll hear that they went home and took pills, or they beat themselves, or they cut themselves, whatever, because they feel like they're bad and they did something wrong in the relationship. And, you know, you're no good, you're a bad person, you don't know how to be a good friend, shame on you, and they'll just hurt themselves. So that happens. Another form that borderline personality disorder takes is something called dissociation. It's not disassociation, because disassociating with something means you're not associating with it, like you're kind of pulling yourself away. This is where they're not really leaving the situation, but they are leaving it, kind of like in their mind. They disappear into a different realm, basically. When a child is abused severely, and very often sexual abuse is part of what causes borderline personality disorder, and also post-traumatic stress disorder is also caused by that. But when the child is severely abused, they may temporarily check out. And if it continues into adulthood, something called dissociative identity disorder may result in that, from that. And this is also known as multiple personality disorder. Once somebody's personality becomes affected like this, where they split into many different personalities, or they dissociate into other realms, etc., it's often very difficult to help them get out of that state or to get back into reality. It also may be very difficult to get this type of person to really talk about what the trauma was that caused the dissociation in the first place. Is everybody able to hear me, by the way? I just want to make sure. Give me a thumbs up or something just so I know. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm only going to check it one time because I just want to make sure before I go on. Okay, not seeing anything. Maybe somebody stepped away from the screen. I'm going to assume I'm being heard then, and hopefully I am. All right, projection. That is the next thing that they may engage in. Projection means that a borderline has such a very low self-worth and self-esteem, lacking self-esteem actually, that they, when they do something wrong, they will sometimes kind of put that on somebody else. They do it in a different way than a narcissist does, though. It's kind of like they accuse you of something you're really not thinking. Thanks for that. Notice that you're hearing me. Appreciate that. They do it in such a way that you feel blamed for something and you're looking and thinking, I didn't really do that, so I don't know why they just accused me of that. So it's kind of like they would say, I knew you were never really happy with me. You just said all those nice things to me to make me think you liked me. You're really just like the other people. I can't have any friends because I drive everybody away. I actually had one person say, I don't want you to be in a friendship with me, and I don't want you to be close to me because everybody that gets close to me gets hurt or dies or something bad happens. And they really sincerely believe this, to the point that in some cases, this is exactly what ends up happening. I can't figure out why that is, but when you believe things that are bad about yourself and you kind of stir up that negative energy, bad things happen. I can't figure it out. I can't explain it, but it is the case in some situations. All right. You'll also find yourself constantly having to reassure these people that, no, you're a good person. No, I'm not mad at you. No, I didn't think that at all. And it exhausts you. It's very, very draining to constantly have to prove yourself and prove your relationship with people that have this disorder. It's very, very tiring. Okay. For people with borderline personality disorder, first of all, some people don't like being alone. It's very common to want to have friends and, hang out with people or whatever. But for the borderline, it goes way beyond that. It's this intensity, this intense fear and terror of being without someone. They will often freak out even if you leave to get a glass of water in the other room, because to a borderline person, they feel that they're going to disintegrate if you disappear from sight or presence. They have such an unstable sense of being, like they don't exist without you, that if you're not physically there even for a moment, they feel like they disappear from reality. And that's obviously not the case, but to a borderline, it's called object constancy issues. To them, when someone disappears even to another room, they're just like not there anymore. And then they forget what the person looked like, and they're afraid if they forget what the person looks like, then that person will never exist in their realm of reality again. And that sends them into a deep panic. They feel like they're in this black hole and this bottomless pit or this vortex that just sucks them in, and there is no hope of establishing a firm footing again in reality if that happens. I know it sounds kind of odd if you don't really know anybody with this disorder, or if you don't have it yourself, you won't understand it. But it's just a very, very intense, painful thing to a borderline to have you say goodbye so long, hang up the phone, leave the room. They can't handle that. They feel like, you're gone forever. And often they'll say that. They'll be like, you're not coming back. And you'll be like, yeah, I'm only going in the other room to grab a glass of water. Are you sure? Are you sure you're coming back? You promised me you're coming back? Yes, I'm coming back. Good, because I don't think I could live without you. I can't, you don't understand. I can't live that long without you here, and I really need you here. And you're sitting there, if you're the neurotypical person, going, really? I mean, that's a little bit exaggerated. I mean, I'm only going to get a glass of water, but to them, it's the end of the world as they know it. It really is. All right. Many people that have borderline personality disorder go into a panic state. So, for instance, if you're friends with somebody with this disorder, and say you were supposed to call them, you usually call them at 6 o'clock at night, and you didn't call them this time because your child fell down and you had to go to the hospital and get stitches in his knee, or something like that. I'm just making that up. You will get phone calls, bombardments of phone calls, saying, we'll make up a name. Hi, Mary, this is Dawn, and you said you were going to call me at 6, and I'm just calling to find out why you didn't call me. Are you mad at me? Do you not like me anymore? I waited all day to hear from you, and you didn't call me. You don't like me, do you? You're just pretending to like me. You didn't really ever want to be my friend. You don't really ever want to talk to me. I'm an embarrassment to you, right? You can tell me you're lying to me that you want to be with me. It's all right. You can tell me the truth. I can take it. But I know you really don't like me. I know you're just pretending to like me, because that's what everybody does. And I'm just really mad that you didn't call me. And then it'll go from that, and they'll switch moods back and forth too. They'll start with why didn't you call me too? I can't stand it. I can't stand that you're not here and you're not calling me. I just feel like all alone, and I don't think I can go on anymore, and I really need to hear from you. You need to call me right now. I don't care what you're doing. You need to call me. You know what? Never mind. Don't bother. Don't call me, because I know you're not my friend anyway. I'm just going to take you right out of my phone. I'm taking you off of Facebook. Don't ever call me again. And that is a borderline to a T, what I just enacted for you. That is literally how they behave. All right. Now, picture that over and over again for months at a time. Almost every other day. I love you. I hate you. You don't love me. You don't care about me. Oh, you're the best friend I've ever had. That's borderline. Okay. Enmeshment. That's another part of being borderline. Borderlines have no true sense of self, and they have no grounding for being a human being. So they literally look to other people to determine how they need to behave, how they should respond, and how to get reactions. Borderlines are the type of people you take out to dinner, And they look at you and say, so what are you having? And you're like, I don't know, I'm just looking. Well, let me know what you're having because that's what I'm having. Well, no, that's okay. You can have the chicken. No, just tell me, tell me what you're having and that's what I'm going to get. Okay, don't you want chicken? I know you like chicken. No, I never said I like chicken. It's fine. Just tell me what you want, what you're going to get, and that's what we're going to get. And you're like, okay, I can't even eat my own food. They have to copy that too. Yes, they do. That is part of something called enmeshment or engulfment. They become so closely attached and connected to you that they can't make decisions on their own. They have to latch onto you, leech onto you, and do whatever you're doing because they have no sense of self. They weren't allowed as children to have opinions and make those choices. So therefore, they learned that Mommy was going to tell them what they liked. Daddy was going to order their meal for them. So as adults, they have no clue how to do that. They look to everybody else to see what's going on, and that is what they will be doing. Okay, they are very reactive. They have a very, they flip on their attitudes of reactivity. So they have a how dare you attitude, and then a who needs you attitude, to a oh no, what did I do? I'm a terrible person, to oh gosh, they're going to leave me and I'll be all alone with myself, to they're just leaving. They already made up their mind. I'm done with them anyways. I never needed them. That's, again, borderline. That is how it plays out. Okay, obsessiveness. Oh boy. Along with borderline, as well as narcissism, obsessive compulsive disorder is constant things that you struggle with, that they struggle with. So, as I told you, constant phone calls. Now, besides just begging you to call them and why didn't you call them, then they go into this, I'm sorry, I need your friendship, will you please forgive me, come on and call me, please, I need to hear from you, I need to know that I'm forgiven. Now, how do I know how to act this out? So, well, years ago, before I got the help I needed, I had these situations where I was the one doing this. I did not know how to have healthy relationships and friendships, and now I stay away from toxic friendships and relationships. But I was the leechy, clingy, annoying person years ago. So, yes, there's this, whining, please call me, I just need to hear from you. They want you to mend the relationship with them. We need to talk about this. I'll die without you. And then if I'll die without you does not work, then I'm going to kill myself. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill myself, and then you'll miss me. Yeah. That's part of it, too. All right. So what happens with all this? And I might have a few more traits of borderline after I tell you what the result is for the person that is in the relationship with somebody with this disorder. The result is a person in the relationship tends to stay with the person who has the disorder, the borderline disorder, because they feel, number one, guilty. They feel sorry for the person. They start to feel like, well, if I don't stay with them and help them, who's going to? Nobody else is going to put up with this. Nobody else can handle this. So I'm just glad they trust me enough to help them through this. And the person in the relationship is like, okay, I know this isn't healthy. I'm sensing that this is draining me, but this person doesn't, I can't do this. I can't desert them like that. That's the very thing they're afraid of. I'm not going to leave them. I'm not going to do the very thing that they're concerned about. And the person that is in it, they're feeling relieved and feeling better that they chose to stay in it, but they also resent the person with borderline at the same time. And eventually, they do end up leaving the person with borderline. They get out of that sick, toxic cycle of, I hate you, wait, don't leave me. This flip-floppy, please don't leave me, and you go ahead and leave me, you don't care about me anyway. And no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, please come back. It's maddening after a while. Okay. Borderlines have unstable, intense relationships, as evidenced by past history. The best way to find out if somebody that you're with is a borderline or a narcissist or a toxic person is to find out who they hung out with before you or who they're hanging out with along with you. And that will give you a very good indicator of how they were in other relationships and if people were comfortable with them. I had a recent situation, no names mentioned, of somebody that was either a borderline or a narcissist, I'm not sure. And after talking to at least one person that knows the person, there was definitely evidence of instability in this person's personality. So the fact that I cut off that relationship was, I think, a good decision and probably wise before more things happened. All right. Another thing about borderline personality disorder, and we're going to wrap it up here on this part, and I will do part 2 next week, and then I will open up the floor for some questions if anybody has any. Idealization. I mentioned this a little bit as I've been talking already. Idealization is when you first get with somebody with this disorder and they tell you, you know, you're the only one who ever really cared about me. I mean, I can really sense it that you genuinely love me and want to be with me. I never met anyone like you. You are my whole entire world. I put a little note here. Music feeds into this. If I can't have you, I don't want nobody, baby. You know, those kind of songs, and songs that say, you are my everything. I can't live if living is without you. All those songs, I'm pretty sure, were written by people that really understood this deep need for another human being. But to me, needing somebody that bad to the point where it's obsessive and compulsive is unhealthy and toxic. So they say things like, you're the only one who understands me, the only one I can tell my secrets to, because I know you will not betray me. They already set you up, because as soon as you do something that they don't like, you are against me, you have betrayed me, I can't trust you anymore, I don't want to be with you anymore, but wait, stay here, I think we can work this out. So the cycle just goes on, and it, like I said, it's very maddening to be in a relationship with somebody like that. So I'm going to conclude that there. If there's anybody here that has any questions at all, please let me know. Go ahead and type it in, and I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. And if I can't, I'll try to find you the resources to somebody that can. So I will wait for a few minutes here and see if anybody types in. If not, we can conclude. Questions, anybody? I will wait a little bit longer. I don't see anything happening in the chat here. Okay. It looks like there's no questions and no comments. So I will go for now, and we will pick this up next week on Delusion Dispeller Live, where we will talk about, let me see here. Yes, how the borderline personality blows up a relationship to be more than it actually is. That should be interesting to learn about next week. So I will see you then. Thank you again for coming. And as I always say, if you're in a toxic relationship with somebody, if you can and it's safe, get out of it. If you can't, then tell a safe person. There's a question, when will I broadcast next? I believe it will be either Friday or Saturday. You will see a promo video before I will be broadcasting, so you'll know for sure the date, the day, and the time. And I'll be happy to make sure that you know that next week. Probably Friday or Saturday, though. It's always based on my work week. The days I work, obviously, I'll be working because I work evenings. But on the other days, I will definitely be here. Any other questions? That was a good question. Okay, I guess there's no other questions. So until next time, remember, eyes wide open, moving forward. God bless each and every one of you, and I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.